Everybody wants to be a winner, to be the best, to look the best. It's only natural. Most people do this by exercising, eating right, taking care of themselves. But some try taking a shortcut: steroids.
I wasn't happy with my size. I want to take them because I want to get bigger.
I felt like I couldn't quite compete at the size and strength that I was at.
And as for working hard for it, I wanted a shortcut.
Some take steroids to do better in sports. Others to look better and improve their self-image. They just want to keep up, to measure up to some fantasy image of a supermodel or a superstar athlete.
And student athletes want to be able to run faster, sprint, jump higher.
You may get more muscle mass, you may get extra strength, but what is it doing to you on the inside?
It's almost like I've sold my soul. I can no longer claim to be a drug-free athlete, which is something that I was very proud of.
What I heard about steroids, only the good part. No one told me the bad part. No one told me the evil, the downside, the scary side of it.
The term steroids is used to describe a large group of chemicals that occur naturally in the human body. Each has a different effect. But what we're talking about here are anabolic steroids. Anabolic means to build up, and that's exactly what these powerful synthetic drugs do: building muscle, increasing strength, and cutting down body fat.
Anabolic steroids are a family of drugs that includes testosterone, which is nature's own anabolic steroids, plus about 50 different synthetic compounds that are basically copies of testosterone.
Anabolic steroids aren't new. They were developed in the 1930s to treat patients who didn't have enough testosterone so they could grow and develop normally.
Uses that have been used in the past is one is for osteoporosis or thinning of the bones, so it makes bones stronger, and the other one is anemia, a low red blood count.
And they are used for many wasting diseases, for example, diseases related to AIDS or cancer. They increase muscle mass.
So in specific medical conditions, steroids can be beneficial. But when healthy people begin to alter their natural chemistry artificially, that's when the problems begin.
Athletes tell us that they use anabolic steroids, one, to increase their strength, and secondly, for purposes of rehabilitation from injury.
All my strength went up pretty fast, and I had some big gains in the weight room and just on my speed overall and everything.
It's ironic. People use steroids to get bigger and stronger, to feel good about themselves and look healthier and more fit. But in the long run, using steroids does just the opposite.
I've competed for almost 20 years. And I did it because it was this end. Everybody wanted that look. But by me being the way I am, I wanted a lot faster. To try to cheat it and took steroids.
Some of these young kids, athletes, they're inundated with the media. And all their favorite athletes are these huge men or women.
You know, our whole culture right now has sort of taken some of the fun out of sports and made it really serious for girls and boys to do better in sports. So feeling that pressure to do better can drive young men and young women to do things that'll help them.
They have no idea how most of those athletes have just really done it by hard work.
If you are using steroids as a way of adding to your body mass or changing your body shape, they can be very dangerous.
The list of irreversible effects steroids have on the body is a long one, and once you know how steroids work, it's easy to understand why. Anabolic steroids are androgens, male sex hormones. In the body, the main male hormone is testosterone. This is the hormone that's responsible for the physical changes that occur as boys go through puberty. Testosterone stimulates the growth of facial hair, a deepening voice, maturing penis and testes. It also encourages muscle and bone growth. Estrogens are steroid hormones responsible primarily for female development. Both of these hormones are present in males and females, but males produce more testosterone than females.
The way that the body's endocrine system works is that the testicles make testosterone. And the signal that tells the testicles to make testosterone comes from the pituitary gland in the brain.
So the brain signals the body to manufacture testosterone. Once there is enough testosterone in the system, it travels through the bloodstream back to the brain, which sends another signal down to the testes and production slows down. The system regulates itself. Of course, this scenario is quite different when you throw anabolic steroids into the mix. As synthetic versions of testosterone, anabolic steroids mimic the actions of naturally occurring hormones, but in the process, they throw everything out of whack.
When we introduce a new hormone to that balance, as we do when we self-administer steroids, we alter our body chemistry, and we alter our body chemistry in a way that really throws everything off balance.
Another problem is that steroid users often take mega doses of the drug, 100 to 1,000 times those prescribed for medical purposes. This more is better thinking is often what leads to confusion in another area of the brain, known as the hypothalamus, which not only helps control testosterone levels, but also has a role in producing hormones that control appetite, blood pressure, moods, and reproductive ability.
The brain sees all of these steroids coming in from the outside, and so it sends a signal down to the testicles saying, hey guys, shut down the factory, we've got plenty of testosterone on board already.
The body thinks it's got all the testosterone it needs because the testes produce testosterone, they shrink and they become shriveled.
So the factory can't get up and running again, and as a result, the individual has extremely low, pathologically low testosterone levels for weeks and sometimes months after ending a cycle of steroids.
There are a lot of products out there that promise to bulk up the buyer. In the US, supplements can be purchased legally over the counter in health food stores, and while most steroid users are male, use of these supplements is rapidly growing among young women. But just because they're readily available doesn't make them safe. These products and many others are converted to testosterone and similar compounds in the body, and many have yet to be proven both effective and any safer than illegal steroids.
The International Olympic Committee looked at supplements, all different types of supplements in the United States, and found 18% of them were spiked with anabolic steroids, yet anabolic steroids was not on the label.
They begin to realize that these products really don't work the way the manufacturers say they do. And so we believe often that athletes then will resort to the use of anabolic steroids.
But it's not just a quest to bulk up that sends users into supplement stores. For many young adults, how they look, or more importantly, how they think they look, is what it's all about. And while this is a very common part of growing up, some people have really distorted images of their bodies. Some kids even begin taking steroidal supplements because they are under the illusion that everyone else is doing it. This thinking is not just wrong, it's dangerous. Despite the fact that there are lots of other, better ways to win and look good, there are athletes willing to risk their health with illegal drugs.
What you're looking at when you see a steroid abuser who is a high-performance athlete, and you see and say, well, this person got all these gains by steroids. There are many other people who have used the anabolic steroids and didn't get those gains or burned out or had side effects. You're essentially seeing the survivors.
Anabolic steroids are controlled substances, and they're available through underground means just as any other controlled substance might be available.
Users take anabolic steroids in different ways, trying to maximize their effect. But the bottom line is that every method is dangerous.
The young athlete who starts using steroids uses a pill form because that's the easiest. People are usually afraid of needles.
But testosterone taken by mouth puts a huge amount of stress on the liver and other organs. To get around this, users begin injecting steroids.
The most commonly overuse, abuse system is the injectable. Once you start injecting, it gets easier and easier, and that's the more severe cases where the amount that the body takes seems to keep building.
The fact is, taking steroids is like playing Russian roulette, since users rarely know what exactly it is they're taking.
Half the anabolic steroids you can buy on the black market, and that's not purchasing in a pharmacy, are really fake. We had one student who was injecting Wesson oil who thought it was anabolic steroids.
Someone walk up to you who is a total stranger and offer you candy that's unwrapped, would you eat it? Well, it's almost like steroids. Hey man, I've got something that can make you big. Would you try it?
It's may the buyer beware. You really don't know what you're getting, and you're taking a risk when you're injecting anything that you don't know exactly what's in that concoction you're injecting.
No matter how they're used, these substances can do serious damage to the body. And the younger the user, the greater the risk. Because while the body is still developing, it's most vulnerable to the terrible effects of steroids.
What happens is it tricks the body into thinking you're older because you get this big burst of testosterone or anabolic steroids. So because the body thinks it's older, the time for growing seems to be stopped. So it freezes the growth centers of bone, and a person doesn't get taller, at least linear height.
What that means is that individual who uses or abuses anabolic steroids will actually grow to be shorter than they would have if they had not used.
Physical side effects were bad enough for me to require hospitalization a couple times, kidney damage, urinating blood, liver pains.
Steroids mess up your cholesterol ratios so that it is believed that they speed up hardening of the arteries.
25% of steroid users actually share needles. So there's a risk for HIV/AIDS, hepatitis, and bacterial infections that can affect your heart valve.
Gum bleeding, loss of hair, loss of erection.
People will start to lose body hair. Testes shrink.
Testicular problems, shrinking of the testicles, cancer, spermogenic issues, in other words, you can't manufacture your sperm, as well as the side effects of making you look somewhat like a woman, where you get enlarged breasts, you lose your hair, you change your voice a little bit.
Increased facial hair, increased acne. It promotes baldness. So if you're more apt to have thinning hair, it will promote that as well.
Well, I did have a problem with acne on my back.
I knew that there were side effects, and I just told myself that I was only going to do it once and for a short period of time, so I wouldn't feel those side effects, I guess.
The side effects in the female steroid users are similar to the male with the general effects. The specific undesirable effects are shrinkage of the breasts, a deepening of the voice, and enlarging of the clitoris, both of which probably are irreversible.
The voice may deepen. You actually get the facial hair. You might get some hair loss on top of your head.
Sometimes if they take certain steroids, including growth hormone, they may get an enlarged jaw and a changing of the facial structures. They have their menstrual cycle disrupted, and it may not return to normal.
Well, did you get all that? Along with weight gain and muscle development, users can expect acne, baldness, stunted growth, liver damage, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. In addition, guys can look forward to enlarged breasts, shrinking gonads, and painful urination. And women, excess body and facial hair, a deep voice, smaller breasts, and infertility are a few physical changes to expect. But steroids don't only wreck your body, they do a number on your mind as well. Because they affect the brain, steroids change the way you think, the way you feel. They change who you are, and never in a good way.
I would notice that little things would bother me a lot.
I think what steroids did to me is took just about any emotion that you could feel and just amplified it 1,000 times.
I had changed as a person.
Steroid use seems to sort of shut down parts of the brain and accentuate other parts. That is to say, that part of the brain which usually helps you sort of inhibit or stop some of your aggressive or impulsive behavior seems to not be as active as the part of the brain that responds to a threat or to aggression.
Laboratory studies show that anabolic steroid use can boil over into a dangerous loss of emotional control. This is known as roid rage.
Well, roid rage is caused by anabolic steroid use, where you have uncontrolled emotional response to life stresses.
It's taken beyond the field of competition, taken beyond the football field or the rugby field or the weightlifting arena, and is carried over into the personal life where they become very short-tempered, very aggressive, very quick to blow up or to become enraged.
They can't control their rage. They may attack a person, attack a wall, or just act out of control in a very aggressive manner.
Someone cut me off on the road, things like that, I would be furious. Someone said something to me that I didn't like. You get angry very, very fast, and it's very hard to calm down.
Anytime I went 24 hours without an incident, I actually made a mental note of it. I used to think, wow, it's been 24 hours and I haven't attacked anybody.
I've unfortunately seen athletes who've abused their children and their spouses.
There was a very high-profile case in California where a male bodybuilder became paranoid, and that's one of the problems of using steroids. You become paranoid and violent, which is a lethal combination. He killed his girlfriend because of that.
It's almost impossible to see until you've been off the drug long enough for it to get out of your system and for you to become yourself again and to look back and think back on who you were, to realize just how irrational they made you.
Steroids are drugs used to get big and lean, not high. And they're not physically addictive like, say, heroin. Yet a lot of steroid abusers keep abusing, even after the side effects are painfully obvious. That's because they've become dependent on steroids. And while dependence is different from addiction, the pain it causes looks very much the same.
Anabolic steroids, we don't know if it's a real, true addiction with a withdrawal syndrome. But there's a psychological addiction, and there's certainly a physiologic change that occurs when you stop the steroids because you don't produce your own anabolic steroids anymore.
Guys who take them and who come off the steroids will frequently have a steroid withdrawal depression with anxiety, sometimes even panic attacks, and then they'll be tempted to resume the steroids to make the depression go away.
When you first come off and you have that androgen crash, right directly post-cycle, you really feel crappy, and that's when you almost want to say, screw it, I'm gonna stay on.
Guys who take them become habituated to being much bigger and more muscular than normal, and they don't want to lose that muscularity, and that will induce cycle after cycle of steroids, and they'll be reluctant to ever stop them.
It's mentally addictive because you look in the mirror and put your arms up and you see that size. When you come off of it after those 6 weeks or 8 weeks or the cycle you're on, you'll lose it and you'll want it back. When I came off of it, I was depressed. I missed it. I wanted it again. Went back on it. So I was killing myself.
All this damage to the mind and body. And some people do it all as a way to gain a competitive advantage, an unfair advantage. In other words, in the world of sports, steroid use is cheating.
In the sport arena, anabolic steroid use is banned. It's considered cheating. So an athlete who's caught using anabolic steroids, whether that's through a positive drug test or a coach or an athletic trainer becomes aware of steroid use, will lose his ability to participate in the sport.
If you're tested with the urine tests, then it's pretty easy to pick up steroid use, even if you use the natural substance, testosterone.
Oftentimes, colleges will just ask that athlete to leave. Oftentimes, we'll see an athlete actually kicked off the team for anabolic steroid use.
The possession or distribution of anabolic steroids has legal consequences too. You can go to jail, be fined. But for a lot of users, the real punishment is losing what they worked so hard and so long to win.
The people who are using the steroids that people will look at and say they look great, for every one of those, there are many tragedies that occurred to other people who are not at the gym because they've already suffered the side effects.
Between loss of, friendships, court fees, fines, money, time, a lot of it cost me a lot.
No, it's not worth it. 100% not worth it. Only because if, let's say, whatever you gain from it, you're going to lose.
Sports are supposed to be about fun. If there's that kind of pressure where you have to take a harmful substance, there's something wrong.
Don't focus on the now. Focus on, hey, what's going to happen to my body 2 years from now, 3, 10 years from now? It's the only body we have. Take care of it.
No athlete wants to lose, But counting on steroids for that competitive edge can threaten your body, your mind, and your athletic career. The truth is, you don't have to cheat to compete.
For high school athletes, if there's usually lots of room for them to improve their nutrition, improve their training regime, and get a lot bigger without having to take steroids, without having to take a substance that is going to change your body permanently.
Eat properly, sleep properly. Just take care of yourself the way nature has intended. That way, your body will continue to grow, you'll stay healthy without adding additional hormones to your system that actually break down your systems inside and actually deter you from growing.
You find a lot of athletes developing on their own through better training, year-round training, better nutrition now.
With sports nutrition the way you have today and eating the right amount of protein and the right amount of training, you can get serious and significant gains in all of your athletic endeavors, your ability to get stronger and faster and more powerful without the use of steroids.
And I think it's pretty well known, well, if you take steroids, yeah, you're going to end up muscular, but at what price?